So good day everyone. This is the second part of our report with Brother Jonathan Labaine, which is the titled Pope Francis Radical Option for the Poor. Now we proceed immediately with the um, another topic, which is all about the inequality in society, um, relative in relative poverty. The view of Pope Francis on the inequality and relative poverty is greatly expressed on his message and is one of his apostolic exhortation, namely the Evangelii Gaudium, where he says inequality is the root of social ills. It is his call for the elimination or the reduction of relative poverty and absolute poverty. This statement of Pope Francis has its clear stand and a solid foundation of the reality of the present situation of our society. He based it from the scientific research in which he is really concerned on the status of the growth of relative poverty, on the recent research on relative poverty, which goes this way. It is from his study of the capitalist system which widens the gap between the poor, except from the economic pattern has been broken by political policy, like progressive taxes, exceptional events such as revolutions and wars. This gave rise to the widening the gap between the very rich and the rest of the population. On the other hand, this widening of the gap between the rich and the poor also has another personal reason which causes this gap. It is identified by Piketty that is because of political reasons and economic power, which is to use their wealth both to influence politicians, to lobbyists, and to gain control of the media. In this way, they ensure that political policies favor interests that large sections of the popular media fail to expose. The close links between politicians and wealthy individuals or corporations. Um, because of this, he suggested that the only effective way to address this gap is through serious progressive taxation on income and global tax for the capital or wealth. He says that without global tax on capital or some similar policy, there is substantial risk that the top percentile share of global wealth will continue to grow indefinitely, and this should worry everyone. Furthermore, he made a more detailed proposal in reducing poverty, which he suggested by A. Atkinson, who deals his studies on the real situations of these people, and it is true that they include statutory minimum wage set at the level of a living wage. Second is the guaranteed public employment at the minimum wage for those who seek it. And third, a progressive rate of income tax up to a top rate of 65%. And fourth is the substantial child benefits. However, these suggestions later on Piketty's regression of the work of Atkinson because of Piketty is it is which the space devoted to international matters is relatively limited. Now, after the ine- after inequality in society and relative poverty, next is the trafficking in the modern slavery. Human trafficking, on its promise, is now called by Pope Francis as a modern version of slavery. It is the modern version of slavery at the top of the list of social evils. He calls this as a threat to the dignity of a person, and it is true from slavery. This social issue, according to Pope Francis, is not only a mission or concern of one person or a country, but it is our concern. He expressed this issue that it affects much every individual. It is a reality which affects the most vulnerable in society, women of all ages, children and the handicapped, the poorest and those who come from broken families and from difficult situations. It is an open wound on the body of the contemporary society, a scourge upon the body of Christ. It is a crime against humanity, according to Pope Francis. And third is on the justice and charity. The relation of charity and justice is important, and practical implications in the Church. Pope Francis is somehow proposing that the Church should concentrate on giving immediate charitable relief in emergency situations, rather than supporting people's struggles for justice and long-term human development. This is true. Pope Francis' strong support to the programs of Caritas Internationalis. The main area of concern which they do is through a long-term human development such as justice, development of human rights, promotion of reconciliation, and the care for the environment. And lastly is on justice in the Church. Catholic social teaching on justice was the most effective, and in practice was in his commitment to applying the teaching of the Church, the teaching itself. It is during the time of Pope Francis that the option for the poor is greatly seen through the relation of the poor to the institutional church. He began to put it into practice, the fundamental principle of subsidiarity, by implementing the Council's teaching on collegiality. And as a summary for this, Pope Francis bluntly condemns the present inequality regulated capitalist system, accusing it of treating poor as if they are of no importance. He calls both for structural change and for personal conversion. He has adopted the type of spirituality advocated by liberation theologians, insisting that religious leaders and pastors must be in close touch with those on the margins. They need to be acquainted with the experience of the marginalized and allow themselves to be evangelized by poor people. Third is Pope Francis welcomed warmly the social activists who are working to empower poor and marginalized people to struggle for justice. He has spoken out strongly against the evil of human trafficking and has privilege and key role in action against it. He has been supportive of the development of justice work of the Caritas agencies. One of the most important contributions which Pope Francis has made to the Catholic teaching on justice is on his commitment to structural justice in the Church itself, above all in the way of papacy exercises authority. He has initiated a process of greater collegiality in line with the intention of the Vatican II. So that would be all. Thank you.